Hello guys, welcome back to Space for Edit. On this channel we talk about all the things that they don't teach you in design school but you need to know in the real world. And today we are talking about the difference between residential design and commercial design, or even the difference between residential designers and commercial designers. The way I prefer to go through my videos is sort of go point by point. So we're gonna look at, I don't know, maybe 5-6 differences and discuss like the one side and the other side. I guess I just have to start off by saying that this is more like in general. This is not to say that one thing that we discussed about commercial design can't be applied to residential design, okay? This is just speaking generally. If you are interested to know what the difference is between the both sides, so if that's something that you're interested in, then keep on watching. So the first thing I want to look at is clients and their needs slash values slash objectives. I think that this is one of the main differences between residential and commercial interior design, because we design for people. So obviously your client is like God and that is the main thing. So for residential, you will most likely have a single family, maybe two families living in one household, or you might have a single person living on their own, whichever. I guess sometimes you could work with property developers as well, so that's like almost like a little bit of mix of commercials in there as well. But in general, you will be working on quite a personal level. So the way you're going to be treating your client and the way you're going to be talking to them, conversing with them, is going to be at a lot more personal level. Versus with commercial clients, you could have anyone. Yes, they could be a single person, but they will be a business owner, and it could go into multi-million, super well-known brands or chains, hotel chains, restaurant chains, and the size of that client and the actual values of that client are completely different. All of commercial projects are always driven by return on the investment. So when we are looking at a client for a commercial project, that's what they are interested in. That's what they want to know. How is this going to improve my business? Even though that might be their baby, especially for startups and like smaller businesses, that might be their little precious business that they own and put all their heart and soul into it. At the end of the day, it comes back to the return on their investment. So the difference when we talk about clients is that residential client will care more about the privacy and the intimacy around their house, whereas a commercial client will focus on the return on investment, how it's going to improve their business, how it's going to work for their employees, how it's going to improve their well-being, how it's going to impact the environment. So obviously these things can cross each other, but if you were to ask me the question, then I would say that the type of client is probably the biggest difference when you look at residential and commercial design. So the next thing that I want to touch on is the scale of projects. Right, okay, one might say that this isn't really a big difference, because you could have a commercial project which is a tiny little coffee shop, a hole in a wall somewhere. It's an independent business, someone's just started it, okay, and then you compare with someone who's got the layout of a multi-story mansion on their desk, which is a residential project. Okay, I get that. But in general speaking, okay, if we go back to what I said before, in general, commercial projects are bigger in scale than residential projects, especially if you are just starting out. Then very often you will only get to design a room or a floor in the house, and then possibly once the client starts to trust you, or once they kind of figure out that, okay, you can actually help me create a much nicer environment in my home, that's when you get the next job. Whereas when a client comes to a commercial designer or commercial design studio, they have a vision for their business and it has to be all finished. Do you know what I mean? And if we are talking about scale, I think we need to include reach within this term as well. So what I mean with reach is how many people will actually get to experience the space, will get to use it. Basically, what is the footfall? On a residential project, it is most likely that it's just going to be that one family or that one person. Okay, they might throw a fabulous party, but they're not going to be throwing parties every day for a commercial project, there could be thousands and hundreds and millions of people even crossing through the space. So when we are talking about scale, we need to take that into consideration as well. Next thing I want to talk about is budget. And yes, I know what you're going to say, but Cynthia, there can be huge residential projects that cost millions and billions, and some commercial projects that don't even get a fraction of that budget. Yes, and I agree. So I guess everything that we discussed in the first 2 points does apply, but just a little food for thought. And once again, we are talking general. Okay, in general, £50,000 is seen as quite a big investment when it comes to residential properties, versus 50k for a commercial project will not even scratch the surface on most projects. So I think that's what I mean by budget, and I'm just gonna leave it there. And next I wanted to talk about design process. So when it comes to differences in design process, residential design, again, is a lot more personal. Residential clients tend to pay a lot more attention to every single thing that's specified. So anything from finishes to furniture to fixtures to just everything about it, because it's their own money that they are, putting into this project, which is fair enough. And also you get clients who are a little bit too involved in the design process, but we're not going to talk about them. It's fine. Versus in commercial projects, you are usually driven by some brand guidelines, or there are so many people involved that you just have this brief that everyone has agreed to stick with. So that is like your Bible. You kind of just need to fit within those guidelines, and as long as you are following along, as long as you are injecting your own little take on it, clients tend to be happy with that. Yes, there is a lot more work going on behind the scenes once there's design development stage comes into play, and you actually have to look at all that detail. That usually happens in-house and is discussed between designers, between the design team and the contractors. Commercial clients don't really care about all of that. All they want to know is, when are we going on site? Are we meeting the deadlines? And when can I be open for business once again? Because like I said, commercial projects are always driven by the return on the client's investment. Here's an unpopular opinion. Commercial projects take a lot less time to finish. I know. Once again, we can say that, you could have commercial projects that go on for years and years. But in general, there is a strict timeline for commercial projects. Usually in the brief, we get told that we need to be open by this date because it's driven by that, and you want to be open for business for Christmas or for the summertime. Usually on school projects, we can only work when the kids are off school. So that could be Easter holidays, Christmas holidays, summer holidays. That is the only time when we can have the construction team on site to do the work. So this is driving the project to go on faster, versus with residential timelines. Yes, people might say, oh, we want to be there before Christmas, we want to spend Christmas in the house. But something goes wrong, I don't know, contractors don't show up, the furniture don't show up, or even the client is taking time to make up their mind on something. So those deadlines kind of take a backseat. Whereas you can't really afford doing that with commercial projects. Usually it's very strict and very on point. So you can imagine that the workflow in that kind of a scenario is a lot more go, let's make this happen, versus a stop and start kind of action that you can get in residential projects. But of course, both can apply to each other. And to wrap up the video, I wanted to kind of ask the question and answer the question, can one company, can one design studio do both? And the answer is, of course they can. Interior designers can do anything, right? But actually, I think the real question here is it worth doing both? Now hear me out on this. So there's two things I want to look at under this question. First, if you have looked into business development or marketing or anything along those lines, you will know how important niching down is. So focusing on something that you are the best at instead of being everything for everyone. It is confusing. It is proven with marketing tactics and tricks, and there's books written about it, and it's proven. And actually, I have been in a situation where I tried to be everything for anything and it didn't work out. It really was confusing. When you stand in front of a client or in front of a crowd and you try to pitch your business and you try to pitch your specialty, it's like, well, I can do this and I can do that. And it's just all so wishy-washy. And compared to someone who comes in and says, right, we are the top student accommodation design company in the area. We have worked with brands X, Y, and Z, and we have these projects in the pipeline. Here's our portfolio, and it's all on point. Yes, we know what this person is talking about. Yes, you might miss out on some clients and you might miss out on some money, but it doesn't make sense when you are up and down, in and out, and not really focusing on anything specific. Which ties into the next point, which is the second under this question, and that is your mental state, your mental space, your creative state, I guess. As a fellow creative, I know you know how it feels like when you are in the flow. You know, everything is going right, you are creative, ideas are flowing, everything is going right, you are getting it done, right? You're picking up the momentum. So imagine when something else, like a different task, comes in and disrupts that flow and that momentum. You instantly have to kind of like, whoo, slow down. You lose that energy that you've built up. So if we think about design business in this way, you could be working on a commercial project and suddenly an inquiry for residential come in. You kind of have to refocus yourself. You have to step back from it and gain momentum in that one, and then you have to jump on the commercial project again, and back and forth, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. Your creativity is all over the place, your energy is all over the place, and at the end of the day, no one really gets your full attention, where you can focus either on multiple residential projects or multiple commercial projects. It makes more sense for your creative flow, and there's a better return on your creative output. So on that note, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope this gave you a little food for thought if you are kind of thinking about which direction to go. If you have any questions, always pop them down in the comment section. I'm here for it. Or if you want to chat a bit more, message me on Instagram. I'm always there, you know, creating reels and all sorts of magic. So if you have more time, stick around for these videos. And if I don't see you on Instagram, then I'll see you in the next video. See you guys.